right, welcome to the speed dating version of Calling The Audible, as we're going to zip through this hour of sports talk of FPF world of ours. Peeze in the nest along with Eagle and Mo Khan.
I'm in the nest with Eagle?
Yes, you are.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Nest with Eagle.
Who's big spoon? Who's small spoon?
I think Eagle's the big spoon.
Ah, obviously. I love being small spoon. It makes me feel protected.
Yeah. I hate being the small.
And you get to feel my schlong in your back door.
I mean, your claws.
Tripod.
Your claws, huh?
The claws.
One claw
I mean-
specifically.
I mean, it'll poke you.
Barely. Barely. All right, let's talk about the week that was, as we now are in the final days of the FPF regular season. Eagle, anything to update in terms of what we might have from a league announcement coming up in the next few days?
So we'll be having the playoff schedule officially uploaded. I know we have an article right now on our homepage that has the outline of the dates, so we're going to add that to the schedule under a different tab for playoffs, so you'll see the exact time slots and days for it. Nothing's really changed. The only difference is we had some playoff games scheduled at Brossard. We'll be moving those to Lachine, so that's going to be the only major change. We might also have some additional news for the whole vaccine passport. We already had a post earlier about how the facilities are going to be the ones enforcing it. It seems like there is a grace period that is either unannounced or kind of under the radar, but it is in place. So we'll be providing some more updates specifically on that for the first few weeks of the playoffs especially.
So that's code for saying for those who are not vaxxed, you get 2 weeks of playing and then you'd be eliminated from the playoffs.
You might.
Yeah,
You might.
might as well do
We're
that.
not in control of it.
Yeah,
We're not in control of it.
We don't know how we can't forecast how playoffs will look like, but that's how it's going to be, perhaps. All right, let's dive into it as we get into the Division E circuit of games here, as we are starting to get a clearer picture of what's going to go on here. But Peeze, we still have some spots to be had.
Yeah.
And in particular, Trailer Park Boys, they are 4-4 with 8 games played, 2 more in hand here. My team, Oscars Hockey School, is running the racetrack at 4-6. So, Peeze, I asked you the question: do the Trailer Park Boys jump Oscars Hockey School and get into the playoffs?
So my initial reaction is yes. But Trailer Park Boys have a tough path. They got Suicide Squad, who kind of looked lethargic last week. But they're facing a team who's, again, very competent. Trailer Park Boys defense might give Jamal Roach, as a rookie quarterback, some difficulty. But still, it's a tough matchup. And Pincello's, which, again, if you read my article this week, it's inartistic, but it is effective. They are winning games. It's hard to see them win one of these 2 games, but it's equally hard to see them miss the playoffs. Right about now, Mo, how much do you think they're hating the fact that they forfeited the first game, that they had to play games with their quarterback injured in Antoine Meunier? It must be a really rough feeling knowing that a forfeit might have cost them the season.
Well, they're about to get executed in one of these games here, right? Pincellos probably have a strong advance to win this game here, and Suicide Squad may be their only lifeline to jump into that playoff window.
And Suicide Squad, they're going to be coming into this game angry because they lost a 1-point game to Green Means Go.
And that's not, and when you look at the overall playoff standings, right, Suicide Squad in the 3-hole, I mean, had they won that game, they might have kept the chances alive for number 2 seed. But I think now for Trailer Park Boys, if they do win this game, one of the 2 games here, or they might lose outright and then not get into the playoffs here. But if you're V-Town, if you end up perhaps in a 3-way tie where they are also 4-4 with 2 games left here, Eagle, do we have the breakdown here? If there's a 3-way tie with V-Town, Oscars Hockey School, and Trailer Park Boys, who gets in, who's out?
Yeah, so if you have a 3-way tie, it's going to come down to points against, because divisional record will be the same.
Man.
I believe.
Oscars is
I
out.
believe that's true. Now, I have to confirm that because right now Trailer Park Boys are listed as 3-4 in the division. Which is a little strange because the others are 4-6 and 4-4. So the ratios might play out weird there in the divisional portion. But if you get into the points against, right now...
the divisional games will be the same because you only play divisional games.
No, Trailer Park Boys apparently have played someone outside of the division, which
It's
is
not possible.
I think it is.
It's not possible.
I'm looking right now just to see.
Find the game then.
That's exactly
While we're talking, find the game.
Blast from the Past. They played Blast from the Past, which is not in their division.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
Was it a special crossover game? I don't know.
It makes it more interesting, so I'll give it
So
that.
that changes the divisional record portion of it. So right now, Oscars Hockey School are 4-6 divisional. V-Town are 4-4, and I think V-Town has 2 divisional games left. Stand by. Let me check that. They are playing Brewers and Dilly Dilly, who are
Oh, crossover.
No,
game.
same thing. Same thing.
Crossover.
Dilly Dilly is in the other conference.
Yeah.
So it's only Oscars Hockey School that is going to have 10 divisional games. So they're sitting at 400. V-Town are going to end up potentially at slightly over that, right? Because if they finish 4 and 5, they end up with a higher amount. In which case, they again, same thing with Trailer Park Boys. They can end up being 4 and 5. So Oscars Hockey School could be out in a 3-way tie, is my understanding.
But V-Town only has conference games remaining.
No.
Yes.
No.
No, they have Dilly Dilly.
They have Dilly Dilly left.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Cool.
So
Random
V-Town-
things this season.
V-Town and Trailer Park Boys would tie in a 3-way divisional tie for the 7th seed, in which case then it would come down to points against. Right now there's a 4-point difference between V-Town and Trailer Park Boys. So that would be for the 7th seed. And this is where it gets somewhat interesting because Oscars Hockey School, I think, and I'm checking this again, they beat Trailer Park Boys and they lost to V-Town. So what that means, if Trailer Park Boys get the 7th seed, V-Town get the 8th seed. If V-Town get the 7th seed, then Oscars Hockey School gets the 8th seed. So it's very much up in the air in a 3-way tie.
So essentially, it's very complicated right now because there's so many scenarios that could play out in the coming days. Some of these teams are going back to back. I believe Trailer Park Boys are going back to back Friday in Laval.
That's correct.
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock here. So there isn't much of a gap of recover and refocus here. So they're still up in the air, and we don't know who's going to play who. And let's not forget, right, guys, quickly here. I mean, Green Beans go, Pincellos, they're going to be the 1 and 2 seeds most likely than not. And the middle part of it is...
Yeah, they can't be caught.
Can't be caught here. And the middle part of it, as we look at that right now, is the fact that we see the Rainmakers losing Ryan Kastner for the year due to a lower body injury. So, Peeze, I asked you this question. How big of a loss is it for the Rainmakers to lose a guy like Ryan Kastner's ilk, given that there is a crowd source of all these teams, 4 through 7, still fighting for playoff spots?
First of all, show me on your microphone how low on the body the injury is.
I'll show it to you afterwards.
Show me the
On the microphone.
Show me the microphone.
I can't do that.
Really?
Well, I mean, you never know. Maybe someone wants it private. I don't know.
Okay. Does he have is it because he has a small microphone? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. Well, all the best to him. We hope he recovers soon. Who's going to be throwing? Do you know?
Derek Castor's throwing. He's been throwing, but that's a
No,
big
but
loss.
who will be throwing in his stead?
No, Derek Castor's always been throwing. Ryan Castor's out.
Oh, Ryan. Oh, I understood
Yeah.
Derek Kastner was
So
hurt.
Ryan Castor's out.
That's huge. But to be fair, Nick Proka to me is the star in this team. I love what he adds. Also, Matt Perrin is just a guy who can do a lot of different things for this team. Anthony Rossi had a big time catch, and also Eagle. Correct me if I'm wrong, but can't they use Kastner's cap hit and use an IR slot to replace him with a player?
Depending on the IR, to do it, you need an actual medical note saying you can't play and blah, 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 the whole stuff. So it's somewhat complicated, but theoretically, yep, it's possible.
So
depending on the lower body injury.
It's one of the spots where...
Is he day-to-day or is he out for the
out
rest?
for the year. He's out for a while.
Yeah, then yeah,
he's
you
gonna be
can
out
switch him.
for quite a while.
So the thing was with Ryan Kastner, like it always sucks to lose a guy who's got a low cap hit because it's hard to replace him. And mind you, he's a 60-63, so he's gonna be difficult to replace too. I thought he might have a higher defensive rating, but I guess he never really played defense when he was playing in the higher divisions.
No, he wasn't. But it's a big loss. But look, right now they're locked in as a 6. Maybe it could change depending on how V-Town does their next 2 games here.
They're actually 5th once you go through full tie breaks.
So full tiebreaks are in the 5-hole, and they could be locked in with either Menace to Sobriety or Suicide Squad. So they're gonna have a tough matchup in the first round. And let's not forget, Menace to Sobriety has come on of late with some strong wins here. So this is going to be a big loss for them, I think. And that extra security blanket that Derek Castro loses and Ryan will hurt because looking at that team yesterday where they played in Brossard on Monday night, this didn't look like they lost that heartbeat of the offense of how he's able to control things and calm things down that huddle.
Mo, one thing I want to mention here, it's possible Rainmakers jump all the way up to 3rd depending on the results of the games coming up because Menace to Sobriety and Suicide Squad are currently sitting with 1 game left.
Right.
And Menace already has way too many points again. Suicide Squad is at 197, Rainmakers at 213. So there is some possibility of some jumping. Rainmakers have the divisional record of 4 and 5 though, so that's going to be
Right.
tricky for some tie breaks.
Right. So, Peace, we look at Conference B. And we have our 8 teams locked in. Congratulations to the Melons, Quantrum, Orioles, Blast from the Pasture Valley, Doran, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we look at seeds 5 through 8. So Blast from the Past, Oreos, Quantrium, and Melons. There's a lot of movement coming up over here in the next couple of days. Do we see Melons and FFFC jump up and become a 5 or 6 seed going towards the playoffs?
Can't believe Bad Batch had a chance to beat Quatrium and goddamn tied. Sorry. There's a chance. Quatrium at this point I thought would just take that stride and become dangerous. And after having that stretch of winning games, like we saw, they took a forfeit loss to Blast from the Past, and now tying the Bad Batch, or a winless team. That's a tough position to be in. Like that's a game they should have easily won, and they didn't. So it puts them in a spot where they are now susceptible, despite the fact that they had the opportunity in the last 2 games with teams that haven't been dominant, and in the case of Bad Batch just haven't been good at all, to sort of move up in standing. Instead, they put themselves at a chance where they might fall to 8th and end up the last ranked team. Now, I do think Quatrium is better than their record, so I think Dilly would rather play the Melons than Quatrium in the finals and then in the first round.
Yeah, I think, look, Melons, I've watched them a few times. Really cool uniforms. As I delay. I was waiting for Peeze to say something about the uniforms.
I thought you had an additional thought.
No, I was waiting for you to say,
they do, and I featured one of their Instagram stories on one of my articles.
Exactly, it's a nice melon, like pink.
I said it reminded me of the Friendly's watermelon roll for anyone who's been to that terrible eating establishment.
The shoulder pipings remind me of the Arizona D-backs.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of that. So anyway, so the melons...
If they end up winning at the end of the day, what I really love to see them do is eat watermelon out of the FPF trophy in the same way Lassos did with the sauce recipe.
They do, after wins, eat melons after. They have watermelon afterwards.
That's actually great.
I don't recommend it. Don't eat out of that.
No.
I know what I would do with that cup. And that means other people have done it to that cup.
Yeah, you got to Clorox that and the whole 9. But anyway, so look, when we look at this right now for Melons, they're locked in. But I think right now that there could be some movement going towards the final standings here, Peeze. I just think that when you see how this is played out for that side of the division, Quantrium has 1 more game left. They could jump over a Blast from the Past and Orioles. Melons have 2 more games left, and they could jump up even as high as 4, if I'm correct on that, Eagle with Chevalier de Rohan. So there's a lot to play for. And look, I'm not saying the Melons are going to be a strong number 4 seed or 5 seed, but they've had some close games that I've seen from them this year. And if they can figure out how to just play better on offense, get some more diversity on the offensive side of things here, they could have the cutting edge and perhaps pull off an upset as maybe a lower seed going towards the round 1.
Yeah. Well, like you said, a lot still has to be played for. And what's interesting this season is that some of the teams have already finished the schedule, right? So we see teams having to sit around and watch. And I know Blast from the Past had higher aspirations given how their season started. Than being sort of at the mercy of other teams.
Right.
And same thing for Orioles. Orioles came out like gangbusters. We were like, oh, can a FPF junior team?
Them.
No, I legit. And now, of course, they have to play out the rest of the stretch without Jaden Edgehill.
Yeah.
So that makes it.
They're struggling for bodies right now.
Yeah.
They are. And I hope they have enough guys eligible for playoffs, which I'm not too sure if they do or not. But they're struggling for bodies here, and they're starting to. You can see I'm not saying it's physical, but you can see that the wear and tear of playing adult-sized men in terms of the physical size and stature is starting to wear on this young team that's still probably 2 or 3 years away from being at that level.
They have 7 players who are eligible, but of those guys, how many of those guys are available?
Yeah.
Because ideally you need 6.
Yeah, a lot of guys have tackle commitments now, which is a tricky part for the teams like that. So I think there will be movement. I think for Melons is the team I'm circling right now that could make the serious inroad towards a higher seed of the Div E playoffs. So Division D, we look at that right now in terms of what we have. Of course, we had that format unveiled last week where the lower seeds will get slaughtered by the higher seeds from our calculations. Who created that division format, playoff format? Was it
the suggestion was this guy.
So it was this guy over here who created the idea to slaughter the weak.
It was voted on, though. It was voted on. Well, the idea is that, first of all, you shouldn't be rewarded Eagle for sucking because lockdown sucks. And
says Hot Sauce Sports.
Yeah, so which bracket are we in? The one where we don't suck. So because you tried to manipulate the system and tank, we punished you.
Which is funny because I could jump and kick you down into it, which would be hilarious.
You can't actually kick us down.
Anyway.
No, you can't.
All right, so
You can't get to 10 points.
I don't think it happens.
So with this caddy cat fight with Eagle and Peeze unfolding before
and for the
our
record,
eyes.
I abstained from voting. I voted for a phallic object attached to a male person, which Castner may or may not have hurt in his lower body. That was my vote.
Penis.
Yes, of course. The crotch area of
Yeah.
your body. So we look
No, not the crotch, the penis specifically.
All right, fair enough. So we look at the final two spots of each conference.
So just again, we'll go through it quickly, just because for those who are watching for the first time, the reason why
I'm in the
you're
high
floating.
seat now. Look at that. I'm nowhere to be found.
The reason why we came out with this is we wanted the regular season to mean something because so many teams make the playoffs. So we have the top 3 seeds of each conference playing the bottom 3 seeds of each conference, and then the middle tier is all the teams grouped together. So this way, the teams at the top get rewarded for being good, the teams at the bottom get punished for sucking, and then the middle tier get to beat each other up in what I expect to be an absolute slugfest, because the middle tier, Mo, in Division D is insanely close. Like, there's going to be upsets, there's going to be close games. That might actually be the best
I hope
playoff bracket
I hope
there
there's
is.
blowouts, like no 5 plays for all those playoff games.
I mean,
so.
maybe, but seriously, if you look at the teams though, like if you look at the teams specifically in the sort of D2, those all look about the same. Like, blackouts to me are one of the standouts. The new guys are one of the standouts, and then everything there, like the rest of the teams are all the same.
Yeah.
They're all guys who can easily beat each other, who are good teams but with flaws, right?
So I have an
That's
idea.
why Lockdown's not there, because they have nothing good about them.
Of course not. So I have an idea. Let's name this lower bracket playoff the Nimrod playoffs.
Yeah.
So the Nimrod playoffs from here on in. So you win the Nimrod trophy. How about that? So, funny enough, Blackouts asked me, hey, if we win points 4, if we score a few more points, we move up or down. I go, I have no idea. But right now, the projection is that they would be a number 1 seed in the lower end of the bracket at 7-3.
So to remind everyone, the tie breaks, and you can check these on our website. Everybody forgets it, but there's a little tab under every division called tie break info. So our tie breaks are number of wins. That's the clear, obvious one, right? This is assuming they have the same number of points. Then head-to-head in a 2-way. We skip it for a 3-way. Then divisional record or winning percentage. So take the number of points you've earned in your divisional games divided by total divisional games. That's your ratio. So let's say you finish 4-6 in your division. That's 400. If you finish 4-5, it's 444. Therefore, it's higher. So that's how that works. Then points allowed is the next tie break. So it's not how many points you score. It's how many points you have scored against you. Little side caveat here, it also encourages teams to report cap violations against your opponents, even if you win.
So
because
snitching is good.
You get 0 points against in those situations.
So snitching
Either
is
here or there,
encouraged.
but important. Yep. And then point differential is the last one. We almost never get there. Then strength of schedule. I don't think we've ever gotten there. And then lastly, coin toss in a situation where hell freezes over or Mo throws more than 25% completion rate.
I
in
hope
a
we
season.
get coin toss level, man. I'd love to see
We've
that
never got
happen.
there. We never got there.
All right, so we look
So
at
interestingly enough, just about blackouts specifically, if Arush loses to Tuts and Parlays, even though they have no more games left, blackouts might jump up into the top bracket.
Yeah. So let me walk you through this color scheme here, since there's still there's a lot of movement. We didn't want to lock in an official graphic just yet. So anyone who's currently in dark green have clinched either Division 1 or Division 2, depending on which one you're in. So Vultures, Bruins, and pardon my swag, there's no way for you to not be in D1. For Voodoo, Tuts and Parlays, Hot Sauce Sports, and Bleu Blanc, I believe there's no way for you to leave D2. So you guys are there. As for the other teams, so Blackouts, New Guys, Trap Stars, Tough Lungs, Stoics, you guys can actually jump into D1. Arush, Los Siete Amigos, Johnny Fireball, Kiss My End Zone, Fighting Illini, PDs and Negronis, Lockdown, Spares Legion, Clinkers, you guys can either move into D2 or get eliminated entirely depending on what happens.
Sorry, hold on. You say Clinkers. What's my name, please? King Mo.
King Mo.
Klingmo.
So every time we mention Clinkers, you say King Mo.
Klingmo.
King Mo.
King Mo.
Ball in 60s, Leftovers, Loyola, you guys can get into playoffs potentially. And similarly, Mean Girls, Top Citizen, and Glow Gang, you can demote yourself into a promotion into D1. So there's a lot of movement that's still possible.
So because we split it during the season, this time around, like, there's not really a distinction between like the D1 and D2. It's just 2 different tournaments, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's not like in the past where D1 was a higher division than D2, right?
It's just passing ships in the middle of the night. That's all it is.
Yeah.
All right. So here we'll talk about the last question first here. So we talk about Trap Stars, Tough Lungs, Johnny Fireball, Stoics, and HSS. So Hot Sauce Sports for those who don't know. So Peeze, I ask you, how high or how low will these teams finish in terms of where they end up from a forecasting perspective?
How high is always my favorite question.
I know. So Eagle, let's get back to the division here as he's playing out Pokemon on his.
I am not.
Can you go to the standings, please, Eagle? Thank you very much.
He's still the one keeping it alive, huh? The
Still,
Pokemon?
yeah.
Make $1 million a day.
From
Man,
you.
must-
You spent so much money on that game.
eating sugar, and playing Pokemon. All right. So Trap Stars right now are in the lower end at 6-3 with 1 game left here. How high will they finish?
Trap Stars, well, I think they can move up. They have Spears Legion left. Spears Legion obviously struggled in their first season in the Division D, Division 5 kind of thing. So we expect them to win. So I think Trap Stars can move up. But then again, the new guys also they hold the spot above them. I don't think the new guys are losing again.
So it's actually a little bit more complicated than
Yeah.
that. So if I'm going to go to the website on this one. If the Trap Stars win, they end up passing Johnny Fireball because Johnny Fireball is 6-4 right
False
now.
games,
So
yes.
Trap Stars would end up being 7-3, leapfrog into 3rd position, and then jump into D1. So it's not about catching necessarily new guys. It's about actually going into D1 by jumping into the
That's
third.
right.
So
So
this
how-
is
how
what
high
we'll
will
do.
they go?
This is what we'll do. Eagle, you describe the scenario. I'll look up what game is left for the team in question, and then I'll say where I think they'll end up. How's that? Because you'll know the scenarios better than we do, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
more or less. Yeah, there's a lot
Well-
of movement. There's a ton of movement.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's always more than less because you know more than us.
How high will we go? Here we go.
So they face Spears Legion. I think they win that game. So they win this game. You're saying that this would promote them and drop Johnny Fireball into Division 2.
That's right.
So I think that's what happens.
All right, then. Shall we go with Tough Lungs? How about that? That's the team I had listed.
So
on my list.
Tough Lungs are playing Lockdown this week. Similar situation. If they win, they finish thick 3-1 and get 13 points. Can potentially leapfrog Johnny Fireball. If Trap Stars don't win, they leapfrog Trap Stars as well and take that 3rd seed. If Trap Stars win, then they would finish 4th overall and end up being either the 1st or 2nd seed in D2, most likely. They're not going to catch Blackouts, but Blackouts could potentially jump. And anyway, there's a bunch of
So
combinations.
Johnny Fireball is really at the mercy of some teams
Oh,
here.
because they played all 10 games
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
lost
Yeah,
this
yeah.
week.
So they're literally at the sword of what's going to happen to their life moving to the final days of the season here.
I mean, same thing with Stoics. Stoics can actually win and turn it into a 3, 4-way, 5-way tie, depending on the result.
Really good team, but they'll lose this week.
Well, yes,
think-
but they also have the least points against right
So
now.
we're still in Tough Lungs. So Tough Lungs, they I think they win this week because they play Lockdown. So they move up, which means Eagle.
Which means, but Trap Stars win?
You said
What did
Trap
we
Stars
say?
would win.
Trap Stars win also,
Yeah.
yes.
So then they will get a higher seed in D2. They will
Okay.
not make it to D1.
So Tough Lungs looks like you're one of the top dogs in D2.
All right, so the next team I have, we mentioned Giant Fireball. So Giant Fireball is at the mercy of these teams.
So given
here.
the things we say, I think they're going to drop down into D2.
So you're gonna drop down. Okay. So what about Stoics? That's the team listed on our pantheon of teams that
Do you
could
think
move up.
Stokes will lose? And
Yeah,
they-
really good team, but they'll lose.
They faced Kiss My End Zone this week. Kiss My End Zone's been kind of all over the place. Give me the Stokes to actually win this game. So we'll go with my prediction, Eagle. What happens if the Stokes
So
win?
Stoics win. They end up with 12 points. Because Trap Stars and Tough Lungs won, they won't catch them. They will have the tiebreak over Johnny Fireball, I think. Let me just check that to see if they played. They did
They
play Johnny
lost-
Fireball
they
one,
lost,
so they're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
catching. They're not catching Johnny Fireball. So they're going to end up in D2 in that scenario.
Okay.
All
So
right.
they'll be below. They'll be like the 4th or 5th seed, basically.
All right. So Hot Sauce Sports.
Well, we're going to win by 50 against Mean Girls.
yeah.
Because that's my
so-
prediction every week is that we win by 50.
So let's say, okay. So I'll pose the answer then. They win, and they finish 6-4 Eagles. So how hot can they go?
If who wins? Hot Sauce Sports?
Yes.
They could potentially end up in a 3-way tie with Stoics and Johnny Fireball, which will then make it more complicated because then you get points against. Hot Sauce is going to lose that tiebreak for sure. But it's possible because Stoics currently have 188 points against. Johnny Fireball have 204. So as long as the Stoics allow 16 points or less, they actually would win that matchup and finish higher in D2.
So if that would be the case, and then what happens with Johnny Fireball, Hot Sauce Sports?
Then Hot Sauce Sports leapfrogs them because you get head-to-head for the next seed.
So Johnny Fireball
so many things.
That's what I said. There's so many different combinations here.
So Johnny Fireball could really Plinko itself out of contention.
They fall from 3rd seed. They could go all the way down to 7th seed.
And that means they would be in the lower end.
Middle of the pack in
right,
D2. Now,
so,
granted, still high middle of the pack, but yeah.
Right. So, Peeze, I asked this question. With the power teams like Vultures and PMS, who's more vulnerable to lose early on in the playoffs? Because both teams have the weaknesses.
The answer forever was always Brad Evans and the Hawaiian bunch, right? But the thing is that I actually love his surrounding core this time. I think the Vultures are a little bit weaker than what we see in their record. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think that part of my swag are just a much stronger core.
Right. I think I saw Vultures play once this year. I believe it was in Lachine earlier in the season. Yeah, it was way back when you guys played them, when you guys won that game.
Weirdly enough, we gave them their only loss of the season.
It was weird. It was one of those things where they were picking you off, early on. I'm like, man, this is going to be one of those long games. And the next thing you know, you're slicing and dicing and dissecting their team.
It's because no one is more used to throwing interceptions than myself.
Yeah.
So I get used, never gets
the
me
irony
down.
is that they played all the games in Laval, and their one loss came indoors in Lachine. So
maybe they're an outdoor team. And
perhaps they're an outdoor team. But I've done their games twice now. In fact, I actually did their game against Sabon 60s way back in late July, and the game against you guys back in early July. Their biggest question mark, I think, is finding a proper number 2 receiver that they can go on, because McMahon always loves to use his legs.
I'll tell you this, on defense, that's something we noticed in the second half.
Yeah,
and our defense changed in the second half for that reason.
Right.
So. Take that to mean what you like it to.
Because Jamie Drysdale, right, had James Drysdale, big part, had 52 catches this past season, but there wasn't anyone that I recognized that he's going to be the next option that can really make a big difference. And if they can't figure out number 2 or number 3,
get the ball to Kevin Donnan, man.
Well, he only had 21 catches.
Get the ball to that guy because he's amazing.
But the thing is, it's like Drysdale doubled the targets of Donnan almost, and
Donnan's a former receiver of the year.
Yeah.
So give him the damn ball.
So I just think that Vultures have a few more weak links in terms of their style of play than, say, PMS, who I watched play against the Stinkers.
Klingmo.
Thank you. Because I am a King Mo according to the Stinkers.
Klingmo.
Eagle, royalties in front of you.
My liege.
Your leash?
My liege.
Leash.
Although you should be on a leash, Mo.
I am known as King Mo, according to some people at the Stinkers.
King Mo.
Exactly. So I think PMS has the better team moving here. Okay, so the final 2 spots each conference right now, Peeze, as you look at the standings right now. Do we see any serious movement with that? Because, again, those final 2 spots could get in as a lower-end seed for the lower...
Actually, let's go website for this. It'll be a little bit
There we go. So we have Lockdown. We have Spears Legion. Still in play for the 11 and 12 spots. Bond 60 still there that can make it in. Replacements officially out. So there's 2.
I don't think it'll happen, but I want Ball and 60s and Spears Legion to win and Lockdown to lose, because that Lockdown's on the outside looking in, and it gives us a laugh for the rest of the podcast season.
And that means Eagles booked for the road show.
Yeah, punch the first ticket for the media.
Yeah. So Ball and 60s is playing Glow Gang. Lockdown is playing Tough Lungs, and Spears Legion is playing Trap Stars.
Who's winning more of the underdogs? Who's winning this week?
Lockdown showing a little bit more bites.
Because they won by forfeit. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll
that 60-0 convincing win was
a very convincing win.
Convincing win there. I might give Lockdown the edge right now for the spots to be had. For Conference B, we know there's still some spots to be played for. As you scroll down, again, we have Stinkers at 2 and 7. Thing is,
so here's an interesting scenario.
That's why leftovers is one to bring up here. So
it's unlikely, but possible, that Loyola can actually leapfrog into playoffs. I think.
Who do they have next? I forget. I know they lost to
If
to
Clinkers
blackouts.
lose and Loyola, by the way,
Stinkers.
stinkers, yes, because complaining about the playoff format when you have 2 wins.
King Mo.
You're right. It should be based on strength of schedule because you won 2 games.
King Mo.
King
Mo.
So I think it's possible. Hold on, I had this as a possibility. Let me just confirm exactly how it would work. I think it has to do. There's a very particular scenario that Loyola makes it in. Let me just refresh.
As you look at that, I'll make sure to promote that we will have Brent Bodkin on today for the Div A, Div B podcast recap later on.
It may be just you and Brent at this point, because I need to leave at 9:20.
What time is it now? Okay, yeah, let's roll through here, Eagle. Let's go.
This is taking a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah. I can't remember what it is. There's a combination where.
No worries. We'll get that combination posted up.
I don't know what the combination
On
is.
to co-ed now. As we get into the co-ed thing here. We're done with co-ed in terms of the regular season here. Peeze, the most surprising storyline that unfolded in this division this past year was what?
It has to be Fighting Tigers, right? Like the fact that they couldn't succeed, given the fact that we know how good the team is, given how good they looked in fall. Obviously, we were unable to crown a champion in the fall. And given the depth of talent in this team, they had a decently strong showing to end the season. Like they played Party Mix tough with only 5 players.
Right.
They tied Sriracha Chili Sauce, and they beat Fantastic 9 in the last game of the season. So definitely things started to turn around for them, but they just a little late in the season. Luckily, everyone makes the playoffs in co-ed, so they still have time to make something of themselves this season. That to me would be one of the things. And the other one is the emergence of Fantastic 9. I thought Yin and Yang had a clear path to the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And they emerged to me, even just watching them, as the best team.
So how would they have done in Tier 1 if they were a Tier 1 team?
I still think there's a gap in Tier 1.
Yeah.
But I do think I think they would have been competitive. Like they could have upset, sort of the middle pack of teams in Party Mix, Sriracha, and Fighting Tigers. They could have had a couple of upsets.
Right.
Probably end up with a similar record to Fighting Tigers, because I like them a lot. I think it's a really good team.
And just to clarify for Tier 1 playoffs, Eagle, it's all 5 are in, so 2 versus 5, 3 versus 4, 1 gets the bye, correct?
I don't think that's true. I thought it was 4 versus 5 play.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I know it's all 5 again. I just forgot the format of how it is from the playoff angle.
I'm pretty sure it's 4 versus 5 and then the rest. That's a good question, Joe. Let me just confirm that.
Yeah, as you do that, as we gear up for Division C coming up here, because again, we will do more playoff preview as of next week as Eagle looks very closely trying to figure out what's going on with the playoff format for Tier 1 as I try to buy
4
time.
versus 5.
So 4 versus 5. So we'll have Sriracha Sauce playing the Fighting Tigers. And the winner will move on to the 1 versus 4 matchup the following week here. So we'll find out how this plays out. All right, Division C. Infantry Bless. What do you take away from that game, Peeze?
Well, like coming into the week, that was the game with all the hype, right?
And it lived up to it.
Sorry?
It lived up to it.
Absolutely. So like, when you take a look, right? Sorry, I'm just getting trying to get the information in front of me. It was the things I said on the show and the things I was talking to Stephen Harper before the game. I said, dude, like if you just keep your foot on the pedal and don't make mistakes, you should win the game, because what infantry does best is suffocate and take advantage of the opportunities they're given, right?
Yeah.
As good as their offense is, because again, I keep falling into this trap where it sounds like I'm talking trash about them. I'm not. They're exceptional, but the offensive rating would be a little inflated to me because of how good the defense was. So if you can manage to avoid mistakes, and Stephen Harper did that, 20 of 25, no interceptions. Kowalski, he was making the mistakes this time around, throwing 3 interceptions.
It was 3 bad INTs.
Yeah.
Even he said it was just bad.
And that's fine. Like you can have a rough game, but it's the pressure that infantry hasn't had to play that kind of game all season, where they have to just continuously score because the offense is doing that.
Yeah, Bless have had some more tougher games the last 4 or 5 weeks that I've kept track of. They played closer games, whereas infantry haven't really had that close, tight, nitty-gritty type of matchup.
But also the return of Kevin Smuda
Helped.
that helped, and hopefully Isaiah Allard will be back for playoffs.
Isaiah did play for Division A for Contraband, so I think he should be available for playoffs. And if he is, it adds more horsepower to it. So the Santara, right, do they crack into the playoffs here and get in through the back door, because they're slipping and sliding, and there might be heading towards a golf date than a playoff date in the next couple weeks?
It's tough because Mo, like the last memory I have is Les Centaurs, them getting just punked by the infantry. The game we watched
without
together.
Gianni Casati. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying the game we watched together.
Right.
There's definitely a chance. Easy W. Again, it's that interesting thing where some teams have finished their season while others haven't. They didn't do much damage against Silent Ticklers, unfortunately, and they do have South Harmon Institute of Technology. It's a tough game. I don't see them winning, but that's what it would take because EasyW's season is done. Silent Ticklers, I think they can only improve their position. Yes,
they can jump up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only that 10th seed that's in a race right now. Theoretically, I think Mangoose can also get in with a win and a Centaur to lose or tie. I think also works.
I forgot who won the EasyW game against against Mangoose.
That's exactly. I think that's why. I think Mangoose beat EasyW. So if they end up with a 2-way tiebreak,
Mangoose
I think
just
they
beat EasyW this week. They play Sheesh. Just man, these are tough games.
Yeah,
these aren't games that I expect the underdog to win.
And Sheesh could jump up if they have a chance here. But I think right now we have our top 5, not set in stone, but pretty much close enough where it's Bless, Infantry, B-Ballers, Ligrocock, Shit. Sheesh could jump in there depending how Shit does it in their final game this weekend. But I just think for Centaur, they just run out of racetrack. They just don't have enough horsepower at all. It was a complete travesty yesterday with their team as well. So we'll see how.
What do you mean by travesty? Like
well, the roster wasn't even legit. Like it's unfortunate they had to scrape guys.
Sheesh does have head-to-head over Shit. So if that doesn't in a tiebreak, they leapfrog them.
Right. So we'll see how that plays out for them. So speaking of Sheesh, could they fall into that? Could they fall even lower in your mind, guys? Because Dondre Borden is a bit banged up right now.
Yeah,
he's not 100%. He's not 100%. It's a very small roster, but if healthy, they're very talented. So could they fall into a really bad funk where they'll have a tough matchup in the first round?
To put it in perspective, Top Sauce is playing Silent Ticklers this week. So one of those two teams, assuming no tie, will end up at 5-5 and go to 10 points essentially.
Right.
Which will put them in a tie with Sheesh. And so there's some tie breaks that could come into play there in terms of which one they end up with. So it gets a little bit complicated as well for that whole situation.
So there's it's 5 games for eligibility or 4?
5.
5. So for Sheesh, they have 7 players who are eligible.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of subs this season. They haven't had a lot of consistency, but the team overall is solid. The team overall is good.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd like to think that they can be competitive in the playoffs, but I think because of the injuries, it's going to be hard for them to compete.
Right.
I think that they're very, very, very matchup dependent at this point. Yeah. And they were a team I thought matchup proof because of the talent at the beginning of the season.
As we get Brent Bodkin ready to come on with us in the coming minutes here, as we wrap up Division C and the rest and how it will fall the rest of the way. Of course, we're down to the final games, the final day or days of the season left before going to playoff mode. And the schedule will be posted up after the final games on Friday in Laval over the weekend. So please keep your eyes open for that and moving forward here. So, Peeze, when I look at this right now and I see how this has played out, look, Top Sauce could still jump in a little bit higher over Blue Dreamers. Dreamers we set in as a 7, if not as an 8 seed moving forward here.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Credit to Top Sauce, by the way.
Yeah,
because
come
the
around.
way they started the season where they expected Vince Nardone to throw and then because of injury, unable to do so, not having the cap flexibility to go out and get somebody, Pat Jason taking over, throwing in a division he's never thrown at before.
Yeah.
A guy who's basically only thrown in Division 5 permanent, like as for a full season, for Division 5, Division 6, Division E, like around that area, to go up to Division C. That's a huge jump. And he's held his own. The team is good. Like we always knew the team had depth. We always knew the team had talent. So I just wanted to early on in the season we were sort of down on them, but a lot of credit to the team. They've shown a lot of grit late in the season.
Well, Riley and Jason was on my most annoying list of Mount Rushmore. Remember that list?
That's true.
That's true. They weren't happy about that. All right, let's go into Division A.
I wonder why they
B.
wouldn't be happy by that.
I know. They should be honored they're on that list.
Sure,
it's an exclusive list of 4.
It's the official royal list of Klingmo.
Of course, as we will bring on Brent Bodkin in the coming moments here as we go into Division A and Division B, as we gear up for that, as we now know who's going to play who in the playoffs for Division A. We're going to have a brace contraband 1 versus 2, All-Stars versus Chernobyl in a 3 versus 4. And for the 1 versus 2, it's double elimination and how this is going to be, how it's going to be. So And for Division B, a lot more question marks because we do know that Urgence Medic will be your 1 seed. KGP is done now at 5-5. They've played their 10 games.
Big win this week against All-Stars.
Exactly. And now Junkyard Dogs at 3-7 are done at 10 games here, but plenty to be played for BYOB that lost to Here for the Beers on Monday in Broadside. So there's still some question marks to be answered as we will get Brent Bodkin on in the coming moments here. His phone number, if you guys...
Filibustering him, sending it to Eagle.
Yeah. So as we now wait for the...
Thank you, Mo, for doing all of the work for 3 minutes while I tried to
course.
figure out how to send a contact. I'm so fucking old.
Send contact, man.
Jesus.
Just share contact, bro. That's all it is, right?
I know, but it wasn't working because he doesn't have an iPhone.
Yeah, well, we got the fastest 8 minutes with Brent Bodkin. We're going 6 minutes or 8 minutes with Brent? You tell us, please.
We could do 8 minutes. Let's do 8 and then picks.
Yeah, 8 minutes with Brent Bodkin.
Worst case, I'll call from the car and do my picks from the car.
Exactly. We can do that. We can do that, Eagle, right? We can do like picks from the car with that.
I mean, theoretically, we could, yeah.
So we'll do
Eagle
that.
will be
then.
so happy about that.
Exactly. As we are still locating Brent Bodkin for this interview right now. So quickly here, please. Let's go to Division B.
You can ask me questions.
Hey, this is Brent. I can't come to the phone right now. Please leave your
No,
name,
put
number, and
the
message,
answer
and I'll
machine
get back to you as soon as I can. Take care.
Brent,
Brent,
we're
where are
relying
you?
on you.
We're
Jesus,
kind
come
of
on,
where are you, man? 49ers
Clear this
suck.
up. You're
You're
supposed to
such
be
a
on
New York
last
dick
week.
right now.
You
You
asked to come on this
Drosy.
week, and
You're
like
jabroni.
it's frustrating.
You're a
I
jobber.
drafted Sermon. I feel like it was a mistake.
Yeah, Sermon. Why did you draft Chase Sermon for? He's gonna hurt his shoulders in practice, man.
I guess a little massage, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye. We'll try to locate Brent Bodkin. All right, so look, let's go through Division B. That's more of the storylines coming up here, Peeze. Get off for D. Here for the Beers, BYOB. Does BYOB get into the playoffs and they jump over at least Junkyard Dogs to get in? If not, Here for the Beers.
Well, the thing is, they play Contraband, so no, they don't.
So you don't think they're going to jump in?
No. You think they're being Contraband this week?
No. I'm just.
Have they played Contraband yet this season?
I don't think they have.
Okay.
And let's not forget, Dan Lazare is looking to get that passing season champion in his play, right?
Yeah.
So.
He's off his pattern. He only got 5 TDs this week. Little disappointing.
He was
Slacker.
actually disappointing me. I go, Lazare, like your boy Pilon had a pick 6 that went for 40 yards. That could have been 40 yards going your way. Me, bro, you serious? I go, yeah.
Yeah, I got mad at Justin a couple weeks ago and he ran back in pick 6. I was like, come on, bro. I need stats.
Okay, so if we knock out BYB with Contraband, so they're out. So that means we would have our 5. Does Here for the Beers perhaps move up over Get Off for a D? I'm not too sure what the win-loss record head-to-head is with those two teams, but could we see some movement with those two teams flip-flopping 3 and 4?
I mean, there's a chance, right? So we have to see what the head-to-head is.
They actually play this week.
There you go. So they're playing for the spot. That's as exciting as FPF gets.
But they're essentially playing just to win the coin toss. Because it's 2 versus 5.
because they're playing each other anyway. That's a good point,
it's
Mo.
2 versus 5.
So
3
this
versus
game
4.
is also pointless. This is not as good as FPF gets.
Well, no.
Is it actually?
Unless
Because if
BYB
Here for the
wins.
Beers loses, they end up 3-7, and then they tie Junkyard Dogs
And
overall,
BYOB.
and have a worse divisional record because they'd be 3-6. So Junkyard Dogs, hold on, let me just check. Junkyard Dogs has head-to-head on them in both games against. Wait, no.
Here for the Beers won the first one.
Okay, hold on.
And they won the second one. Here for the Beers has both wins.
Oh, okay, no, I'm mixing it up with Get FRD.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. That
So
would
if Here for the Beers lose, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If Here for the Beers win, it
But wait.
doesn't
You end
matter.
up in a. Can BYOB? Oh, there's some weird shit that can happen, maybe.
Oh, boy.
There's some weird. Because BYOB is also in the 3-way tie. So then
Well,
you
no,
get into.
because of the yes. With
Junkyard Dogs is done at 3-5.
Because that
Here for
two-way
the
tie
Beers will
becomes
go
a
3-6, and
Yeah,
BYOB
exactly.
would be 3-6, right? Because who's BYOB playing?
BYB
Contraband.
playing.
No, so they would be they would still be 2-6, and then you get into a point differential.
So
there's some weird
what's
math again.
interesting is if BYOB takes the air of the ball and just decides we're going to run it down to 1 second every play, and just doesn't let Lazara put up like 50 points. Like they hold Lazara to, let's say,
Damn,
20
he's so pissed.
26 points or something,
He'd
right?
be so pissed.
But imagine, so they do that, and that gets them into the playoffs. That then might get them into the playoffs if Here for the Beers lose.
Here's Brent Bodkin. Brent, welcome to the show. We have 5 good minutes with you because Peasy's got to roll out of here. So my first question to you, Brent, is this. You're a GM of a Division A team. Who are
Yes,
you
sir.
picking as your quarterback, Dan Lazaro or Joe Mayer?
Oof, jeez. Joe Mayer. Joe Mayer for sure. I mean, stats speak for themselves. Team has the best record in Div A. He has more championships, I believe, than Dan as well. So you have to go Joe.
Okay,
Dan
that's
Lazaro will not be happy.
No,
about that.
he will not be happy. He's gonna come at me. Who, Brent? What do you say this for? Anyway. So, like, we're going to focus more on Division B because Division A, we know what's going to happen, right, Brent? But Division B, there's still some unanswered questions. How do you think this unfolds going to the final days of the season on who is going to be on the outside looking in for a playoff spot?
Good question. I mean, obviously, here for the Bears with a huge win. I believe it was on Monday night, I believe.
Yes, right, Brossard, yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I think it's going to come down to it could be them, obviously, BYOB. I'm going to say that here for the Bears makes the playoffs just because I think, obviously, with the championship pedigree, and if you look at the roster from top to bottom, they have a better roster than a team like BYOB. I'm going to say, you know what, BYOB is going to be the team on the outside looking in the playoff bubble.
Because they have contraband coming up, and that's a tall task.
Exactly. Well, that's it. That's it. Tougher schedule.
Peeze.
Yeah, so we talked about the possibility here. So this is, I'm going to paint you a picture. You tell me what you think will happen. So Get Up for D and Here for the Beers play each other for basically doesn't matter who decides the coin toss, basically, is what it works out to be. Junkyard Dogs, they're locked in with 3 wins. But if Here for the Beers lose and Junkyard Dogs also have 3 wins, BYOB can theoretically make it to the playoffs with less points against than Junkyard Dogs. But we'll need to, definitely than Junkyard Dogs, but even they can jump ahead of Here for the Beers by slowing down the game and not allowing Dan Lazaro to put a big number on them. How possible do you think that is? Like this whole scenario that I described.
Okay.
Right?
Just to
recap. So Get Up for D
just to recap.
beats Here for the Beer, let's say. Here for the Beer, Junkyard Dogs, BYOB all have 3 wins to finish the season. But BYOB needs to not let Dan Lazaro go ape shit and score 60 points against them. Or can BYOB keep it to be like a respectable like points against, like 26, 30 points against?
Against Contraband, I don't know, man. I mean, Contraband, they have that powerful offense. I mean, they could be, I mean, AJ and Pilon get the majority of the attention on that team, but they have a lot of other guys that could score. You know what? I don't think the BYOB could hold down Lazaro in the Contraband offense to less than, I would even say, 45 points.
Wow, so you're taking the over with Lazaro's
yeah, definitely.
45
That said, Junkyard Dogs have allowed 320 points. So unless it's a complete like wash, if that scenario happens, I think it's Junkyard Dogs on the outside looking in, Mo.
Yeah, it could be. It could very well be. Brent, when you look at Urgence Medic, they're the 1 seed. Which is the one team that you think can give them the biggest run for their money in the playoffs?
They can knock off Urgence Medic. I mean, they're coming off of a loss. I mean, ideally, if you want to stack up all the teams, I would say, honestly, Here for the Beers. If Here for the Beers ends up in I believe the 5th seed, right. I think Here for the Beers, I mean, they lost, I believe it was 34-33 just about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. That game came down to literally the last play. And Here for the Beers could definitely knock them off. I think a team like Get Off Our D, it's not always pretty with Jeff Rosenblatt, but he's proven to be a winner, and he has some big names on his team, some guys that have been performing despite their record, some guys have been putting up some impressive numbers. So I think either one of those teams could definitely give Urgence Medic a run for the money. And JYD, I mean, Jason Rossi's team, I like them. They're a scrappy team. They're not as good as, they're not as bad as the record indicates. I mean, for them, it's just a matter of not turning over the ball, which is a huge issue, I think, for Jason sometimes in the playoffs. But he has a lot of speed. He has a lot of firepower in that offense. And if his defense just get off the field and make a couple of stops, I think they could also give Urgence Medic a run for the money as well.
So given the fact that there have been a lot of turnovers by the Division B quarterbacks, like you mentioned, Jason Rossi being a key example, Sean Avram has, Here for the Beer has been a little bit disappointing. But Sean Avram, with his efficiency, what chance do you give him to win Quarterback of the Year?
You know what? It's funny you're asking me that question because he texted me this morning saying
he texted me too. That's why I was like, I don't know, and I found someone smarter to answer the question, Brent, and so I just figured to put it on you.
You know what, man? I mean, listen, I have a little bit of bias. I'm a former teammate of Sean that won a championship with Sean. We've been friends for over a decade. But you know what? Though? I'm going to go against him for QB of the year. I mean, yes, he has missed. He missed one game, I believe. He made sure to point out, I'm sure, to you as well in the text that he missed one game this season. So he would probably have a chance to put up a couple more TDs and maybe another interception or two. But you look at the second half of the victory. They scored, I believe, only one touchdown the other night. I mean, that's not really QB of the year's numbers, especially against the defense, so they should have really dominated. I know he's going to hate me for saying this, and I'm going to hear from him probably later tonight, or tomorrow morning. But yeah, I wouldn't vote Sean QB of the year for Division B.
Flip the table.
Fair
So what you're saying is he's still the 11th best quarterback of the top 10.
Exactly.
Brent, last question for you to keep with the quarterback of the year trend for, say, Division A. Dan Lazara could be the triple count winner. He has the most touchdown passes at 55. He could have the most passing yards. He's about less than 300 away from Kevin Wyeth, and he's got the passing completion in his favor. But Joe Mario has 54 TDs and 2 INTs, but only 2,000 yards passing. If you have to vote today right now, would you give the quarterback of the year to Dan Lazara or Joe Mayer right now?
I would still give it to Mayer. I said before, I think he's a better quarterback. He throws a better ball. I say, listen, I think Dan, maybe next to Kevin Wyeth, has the strongest arm out of all the Division A quarterbacks. He could gun it. I mean, and his number says that he can. I think, though, if you're Mayu, I mean, only throwing 2 interceptions and you're playing the best of the best we have in FPF in terms of defenses, to only throw 2 interceptions. And again, as I said to anybody that wants to listen, the Braves, even you want to consider this for Ursos Medic, but a little bit on the lighter side, but for the Braves, it's all about they don't really make any mistakes. And if they do make a mistake, it's maybe 1 per game. They capitalize on your mistakes. I mean, when you have that offense is led by Jonathan Mayu, I mean, he capitalizes on your mistakes and he makes you pay for it time and time again.
Right.
So, I mean, you look at his stats, only 2 interceptions against great defenses, and the touchdowns, he's just behind Lazara by less than 3, I believe. So I have to go with Mayu again for my choice for QB of the year in DA.
Last question here, Brent. In the overall season predictions, you are currently last at a 54.48 percentage. Peeze is slightly above you at 55.66. Is this the week you pull ahead and don't win the Sacco Bowl?
Yes, I'm giving an official Brent Bodkin guarantee. I went out finish last.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just
we know what the Brent Bodkin guarantee.
I'm going to pick the same picks as Brent, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a guarantee right now. Brent, thank you very much, you jobber. We'll speak soon, my friend.
It's been your honor, Mo. It's been your honor.
King Mo. All right, Brent, take care, pal.
All right, Eagle. All right, peace. Be good, boys.
Brent Bodkin here with us as we wrap it up for Division A, Division B. All right, it is now time for
Games of the Week. We got to go fast.
All right, here we go.
Get off our D, here for the beers.
Here for the beers.
Here for the beers.
BYOB, contraband.
Contraband.
Mangoose, sheesh.
Sheesh.
Top sauce, silent ticklers.
Top sauce.
Silent ticklers.
Santar, shit.
Shit.
Stoics, kiss my end zone.
Kiss my end zone.
Clinkers, blah, blah, blah.
BBB.
LBB.
Loyola fighting Illini.
Lini.
Illini.
Arush, Tuts and Parlays.
Tuts and Parlays.
Arush.
Los Siete Amigos, the new guys.
LSA.
New guys.
Hot Sauce Sports, Mean Girls.
Hot Sauce by 50.
Hot Sauce.
Part of my swag, Top Season.
PMS.
Replacements, Bruins.
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 Tough Lungs, Lockdown.
Tough Lungs.
Glow Gang, Mean Girls.
Glow Gang.
We gotta fix this. There's a Ball in 60s, Glow Gang.
Glow Gang.
And Sparrows, Legion, Trap Stars.
Trap Stars.
Les Chevaliers, Rohan, Ravens. The Bad Batch, Melons.
Bad Batch, obviously. I have to pick it.
Quantry, MFFC, Dilly Dilly.
Dilly Dilly.
V-Town Brewers.
V-Town.
Doubleheader, Dilly Dilly, V-Town.
Dilly.
Suicide Squad, Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park Boys.
Doubleheader, Pinchello's, Trailer Park Boys.
Pinchello's.
Menace to Sobriety, Green Means Go. And that's it.
Let's go with my pick. Magic words, please.
Thank you all for joining us for this season. We'll be back next week with playoff coverage. It's going to be fun.
Oh, God. Playoff coverage. Good night, Cam Newton.